So, I think that the Ahsoka trailer looks pretty good. I think it looks great. I am excited for this show, even though I'm feeling pretty jaded and burnt out on Star Wars. Other than Andor, I think that Star Wars has been pretty hit and miss. I liked the first two seasons of The Mandalorian, but as you know, I haven't really enjoyed this third one all that much. It's had its moments, but it's also had lots of bad moments. I'm hopeful that with Dave Filoni doing Ahsoka, that we get a pretty cool story. We get to see Thrawn. We get to see, some of these characters from Rebels and the Clone Wars. And, I'm hopeful, right? What I'm less thrilled about is the overall direction of Star Wars. We just heard that there's going to be a new Rey movie, Rey Skywalker. Her name's Rey Skywalker. Can't let go of the Skywalkers, can we? It's just the way this is all being approached over at Disney and Lucasfilm, kind of like Disney and Marvel, is in the attempt to make things more equal. They have forgotten really what the fan base actually wants. And I don't know about you, but if I were in charge of a studio that made chick flicks, and our audience loved chick flicks, and this is what we did. We made movies for women, and the boys they dragged to the movies with them to watch, movies like Message in a Bottle or whatever, Nicholas Sparks stuff, comedies, female-centered comedies. If I was in charge of that studio, I would have a pretty good sense of who my target audience was, and I would make movies for that audience. Now, if I could draw in a few more, male moviegoers by including, characters that appealed to them, I totally would do that. But I would certainly not lose sight of the fact that my movie studio and its target audience was female. That's okay. It's okay that chick flicks appeal to women and girls and teenage girls, whatever. That's your studio. That's what you do. Great. You want men to fill some of those seats? Absolutely. But you're generally, your target audience is women. Clearly, a lot of these are date movies, so they're bringing men and women to them. But the men are going because they want to make out with the women, and the women are going because they like the movies. And they're going to make out with the men too. You see what I'm saying here? There's a target audience for the chick flicks, and it's okay. And I have never once heard in my whole goddamn life men say, what we really need is we need these chick flicks. We need these chick flicks to be just as good for men as they are for women. We need them to appeal 50-50. We need more strong male characters in these chick flicks. I mean, there are obviously strong male characters in the chick flicks because women love romances, right? I'm generalizing here. Excuse me, pardon me for broad stroking. But women, the men in chick flicks tend to be romantic, good looking, strong, silent types. There's a certain thing that goes into the formula for romance novels, chick flicks, all that, right? But ultimately, the protagonist of these stories is usually a woman or a teenage girl or whatever. Even the ones that are genre, right? Like Twilight, right? That's the main character is still female. And I don't hear anybody saying that's a bad thing. I think most people accept that is the target audience, that is who we're going for, and that it makes sense both from a business perspective and because you want to give fans what they want to see. And yet, when it comes to things like superhero movies, Star Wars, Lord of the Rings, there's this push to make everything equal. Now, again, I think it's great that women enjoy Lord of the Rings and Star Wars and superhero movies, but statistically speaking, every study I can find, and you're welcome to look them up, whether they're informal or formal, whether they're on Reddit or done by some, actual study, as part of some actual study, the majority of people who like these things are men and boys. and men boys and boy men. The majority are people like me. And we grew up wishing more girls would like these things because, we'd go to the chick flicks with our dates and then we would hope that they would come to, watch the crappy superhero movies that we liked or maybe play D&D with us or something. But most of the time they didn't want to. And obviously that doesn't, again, this is broad strokes, but the fact of the matter is, and this isn't up for debate, the fact of the matter is that mostly the people putting their butts in seats for Star Wars are male. Just like mostly the people putting their butts in seats for chick flicks are female. Here's Kathleen Kennedy, the boss of Lucasfilm. We don't set out to say, okay, this is going to be a project led by women. It evolves that way, Kennedy continues. And I'm pleasantly surprised to see there's a balance in the force, let's put it that way, because in everything that we've been doing, I think we have attracted some really strong women, both in front of the camera and behind the camera, and that's been thrilling. Why? Why is that thrilling? I'm not saying that women shouldn't be directing Star Wars movies or that we shouldn't have strong female characters in those movies, but why is there this illusion that is going to actually make Star Wars or Marvel or any of these things more profitable? Again, I don't think we shouldn't have, interesting, great female characters. I mean, everyone loves Princess Leia. Everyone loves Harley Quinn. I mean, obviously we want Black Widow. We want these characters to be awesome. But let's be realistic about what these franchises are and who the fan base is. Again, I'm not saying women shouldn't be fans of these things, but they're just not as much as men are. Girls, statistically, just don't watch and enjoy these things as much as boys do. Not as many of them. I'm not saying that there aren't girls who love them just as much as boys, but statistically speaking, there aren't as many of them. And I'm sorry, but that's because of the nature of these things. You can put more and more and more and more and more women into these shows. You can have all the Star Wars shows and movies have female protagonists. And it's not going to make more women, not a statistically significant amount of women like these. You're still going to have these be male-dominated genres because this is just what appeals to men. Just like chick flicks appeal, and it's in the name, chick flicks appeal to chicks. Romance novels appeal to women more than men. Men watch more porn than women. There are just things about us that are different. I've played D&D with both men and women, girls and boys, whatever. But by far, the vast majority of people that I have known playing D&D are guys. And I cannot tell you how many girlfriends and girls I've known who look at D&D with nothing but disdain. They want no part of it. Now, granted, there are some guys like that too, but the majority of friends I've made have been fans of D&D, of Lord of the Rings, of all these things, of Star Wars, etc., etc. It's great when you meet a girl who likes this stuff. That's great. But what I don't love is this tendency to say, okay, we need to have it be 50-50. We need to appeal to women just as much as men. We need to have all these shows that are all female driven, female led, to bring in all these, to bring in the women. Okay, you think maybe the cynical, suits at Disney and Lucasfilm are thinking, oh, if we can just, where this is a market that we're not capitalizing on, we need to capitalize on the female piece of the pie, but you do that by risking a portion of the audience that's going to say, wait a minute, like we grew up on Luke Skywalker, like where are the Luke Skywalkers? We don't want all of our shows to be completely female driven. It's fine like Ahsoka, that looks like a cool show and it's majority female characters and female heroes. That's great. But like, look, we had Obi-Wan, and what happened to Obi-Wan? He was upstaged by all the female characters in the show, made to look like a total ass. Right? We had little Leia basically putting Grandpa Obi-Wan in his place the whole time, and he had to get saved by, the various other female characters in the show. And really it became a show about the female Inquisitor, who was somehow redeemed after being a total piece of shit psychopath. But then she did one good thing, so it's all okay. Why didn't we just get a show about Obi-Wan being a badass Obi-Wan? I mean, we have all these other shows, right, that are going to be female led. Why couldn't the Obi-Wan show be about Obi-Wan being cool, having an adventure in between his prequel days and A New Hope? I mean, doing some of the cool badass stuff that we had been waiting for all this time. What is up with that? That feels agenda driven. That feels purposefully fucked up to me. And it feels to me also like if you did that, if you made the badass Obi-Wan show where he got to shine because it's his fucking show, then maybe there'd be a little less backlash to something like Ahsoka or a Rey movie. I mean, imagine this. Imagine you make a Rey movie, Rey Skywalker, and in this movie, she is an idiot who's constantly upstaged by all the male characters who all have to save her the whole time and show her how stupid she is. That's Obi-Wan. Imagine if that was the Rey Skywalker movie. That wouldn't be cool. Why are you taking the main character and making them look so bad? Andor is an exception to the rule here. Andor was great. Andor managed to have awesome characters of both genders that didn't make the main character seem stupid or incompetent. Andor was a really great show, and it managed to include diversity, LGBTQ characters, all the rest. It ran the gamut of inclusion and diversity without making that the point of the show, and without diminishing the role of Cassian Andor in the process. Why couldn't Obi-Wan get a show that was as respectful to that character as Andor was to Andor? I don't mind the Rey Skywalker movie. I think that's fine. That's great. But Rey is not a very interesting character because in the first 3 films, she just isn't they don't give her a very compelling storyline, partly because the idiots in charge didn't come up with one, which is baffling to me, but also because the characters that are supposed to be her closest friends are given short shrift in these movies, right? So we never get that camaraderie and friendship and conflict and everything else that we get with Han Solo, Luke Skywalker, and Princess Leia, and the droids, and Chewbacca. There's never that feeling that this is a solid, tight-knit group, because they're constantly separated. They're constantly off doing their own things. And Rey is given so much focus that it really goes beyond what Luke Skywalker was even given, because at least Luke had these close friends that he had to fight alongside, yada, 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 yada. There should not be balance in the Force. First of all, that's a terrible story, right? The whole point, the good story is imbalance in the Force. We want imbalance in the Force so that we can strive to fix it in the story. And we don't need balance in the Force in terms of female and male, because it's like saying we need that in chick flicks. It's just not feasible. And again, if you're going to do that, well, at least have real balance. If you really believe in it, then you have to stop upstaging the main characters in all your male-driven shows, right? At least just give the protagonist of those shows, or make ensembles. Why can't we just have ensemble shows like the Clone Wars or Star Wars Rebels, where there's a mixed group of men and women, aliens and humans? They are all important characters, and nobody is upstaging or overshadowing the others. And that's why we have in something like Rebels such great characters like Sabine and Ezra and all these characters that we don't even think about it really. We don't even think about whether they're male or female. It's not even a big deal. No one ever made a big deal about that. Right? Same thing with the Clone Wars. No one was talking about it. It didn't matter. This is why people get fed up with agenda shit. This idea that stuff is being pushed on them, foisted upon them, that's not really representative of what the fan base wants, right? And this is why new Star Wars stuff is under such a microscope all the time, because it does feel like the people who are making it are out of touch. I mean, we heard, there's the Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order and Survivor games, right? The new one's coming out in just a couple weeks. People, came out and we're like, we were upset when we worked at Respawn because we wanted a female main character in this game, and they just went with a straight white cis guy. And it's like, yeah, but I mean, the new trilogy is like main character is a woman. Like, come on. Not everything. You can't have everything. And it's not even sexist. It's just honest. You can't have everything be female driven in Star Wars when the majority of Star Wars fans, and especially the majority of super fans and ardent fans and money spenders in this fandom, are men. And it's not like these men all just hate female characters, but they don't want to just feel like suddenly this entire franchise is just all about women. It would be like if you suddenly took chick flicks and all the main characters were suddenly men because we were going after some weird artificial balance in the Force. So that's my rant. That's all I have to say about that. I still will watch these movies and grumble about them. I still think Star Wars has enormous potential to be awesome, but I think it needs new leadership, new vision, and less of this pandering agenda bullshit. Yeah, we can have strong female characters, and it doesn't have to be part of an agenda. We can have compelling, interesting, stuff that deals with more than just, the Luke Skywalkers of the universe. Absolutely. But again, when it's being shoved down people's throats as a political message, that's ridiculous. And that just feeds into, right-wing trolls who come out and then they see woke in every corner. Everything's woke. Everything they don't like is woke. Everything. And then you deal with another annoying group of people pushing a message and an agenda. And I just want good Star Wars stories. I want Star Wars stories that have men and women and humans and aliens and droids and good characters in interesting stories. And that's why I love Andor, because it's so well written and it has a wide range of characters of all different backgrounds and ages and genders, and they're all contributing something fascinating to this story. That's what I want. I don't want it all to be like Andor. I mean, that's very serious, but I want it to be of that quality and paying attention mostly to telling a good story and not pushing a political agenda. All right. Thank you for watching. Like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Peace.